Hello Summoner, welcome back to another ProGuides video. My name is Nathan Ng, and today we're going to be talking about the 10 best solo carries on patch 11.24. These are the champions that are overtuned enough to hard carry games and are also considered safe to blind pick, with little to no bad matchups that can completely shut you down. Do note that the champions in this video are generally the most meta picks for their role, and as a result, most of them are picked or banned pretty frequently. If you're looking for a champion to play that is much less contested, check out our top 3 champs in main series. The champions in those videos are all strong enough to carry with, but they're low in both pick rate and ban rate, meaning that you're much more likely to get your hands on them. We'll start things out with the new addition of the S tier. Never mind, it's just Camille. Again, if it feels like Camille has been a little bit too OP for a little bit too long, it's because, well, she has. Honestly, it almost makes me wish that we were back in the 2 years where Darius was the most broken top lane in the game. Almost. While he could be definitely overbearing, especially if he died at an early level 1 or 2 all-in, experienced top laners could definitely outplay him with the right champions, and even if he got fed, at least he was somewhat kiteable in teamfights. But Camille has pretty much all of her bases covered. Aside from maybe 1 or 2 picks, there aren't any really unwinnable lanes for Camille. She can almost always at least just go even and then scale up to the mid game. And once you make it there with Camille, you can very easily put yourself in the driver's seat. You'll be able to win in the side lane against most opponents and provide a huge amount of pressure as a split pusher. If you're in one of those rare situations where you just can't roll over the opposing side laner, you can instead play Camille almost like an assassin, using your ultimate to make picks on overextended carries. Riot apparently has no intentions of nerfing either Camille or Divine Sunderer anytime soon, so this is really a pick that you should put some time and effort into learning this preseason. Whether you're trying to learn to abuse the broken champions on this list or how to deal with them when you end up on the wrong side of the matchup, if you really want to speed up that process, you should check out ProGuides.com. We have courses from all your favorite streamers and pros like Core JJ, Aftermoo, and Nick Smithy to really help you understand how to play your role. And if you want a more personalized experience, we have coaches available 24/7, ready to help you become the best. Our coaches are top tier players that have spent years climbing the solo queue ladder to get where they are now, and they're ready to share everything that they've learned with you. So stop spinning the wheels on your own and get on the fast track to higher elo today. Now let's get back on topic, shall we? The other hard solo carry top laner that we have for you is Yoni. When you look at most Yoni players' match histories, they make him seem like an ultra coin flippy champion. They're either 15-2 or 2-15 with very few games in between, but that's not really an issue with the champion, so much as an issue with the general demographic that plays Yoni. You know, the same type of people that only play Riven, Yasuo, and Yi. When you take somebody with the patience to actually play Yoni the right way, he is an incredibly consistent champion. For one, his laning phase is super solid. You naturally build lifesteal on him, so even in the rough lanes, you can usually just sustain through any trades that don't go your way. And even if you have to concede some farm, that's okay. Yoni spikes insanely hard on 2 items, so even when you're technically behind on gold, you'll easily make up for it with your champion being obscenely overtuned. And once you have Bloodthirster and Death Stance, he basically becomes a lifesteal tank, healing through insane amounts of damage as long as you aren't chain CC'd. Taking a look now at the jungle, our first pick is RekSai. When it comes to hard carrying the jungle, there are 2 general playstyles. You either power farm or you turbo gank. RekSai is one of the most extreme cases of the latter, tied to only elites in terms of the early game aggression. Her ability to tunnel through the terrain means that you can go ahead and have ganks from pretty much any angle, allowing you to dodge vision. This means that you can punish opponents that overextend even by just a little bit. And once you blow a flash in any lane, you can gank over and over again, putting a ton of pressure on the enemy laners. Every game has its own variables, so you're gonna have to work with it. But as a general rule of thumb, you're gonna want to hard commit to camping your hardest winning lanes. Post 6, you can even go for pretty easy dives, especially if your laner has CC or big burst damage to ensure that your target is low enough for you to execute them with your ultimate. Once the game is out of the laning phase, your best bet is generally to go for picks. RekSai is considered a champion that falls off because of 5v5 situations, and she's super easy to peel, so you can't really ever reach the targets that you're able to burst down. But as long as you play more like an assassin to try to catch those squishy carries out that either overextend or rotate through the unsafe path, you won't really run into issues. Just keep going for picks like this and try to close out the game fast before the enemy team is able to perma-group. The other jungler that we have today is Graves. He definitely falls into our other category of being a powerful farmer. Unlike RekSai, where you feel pressure to end the game ASAP, with Graves you're fine if the game goes on forever. You could even run Absolute Focus and Gathering Storm if that's the route you prefer to take. Graves' scaling strength comes from the fact that he's a marksman, the class that generally has the highest damage output in the game once everybody starts reaching the endgame stages. That said, he's also somewhat of a caster with some super hard-hitting spells. That's why you rush Yumu's on him before you start building Crib. I'm sure that we've all been one-shot by Graves sitting in a bush before. On top of having both high burst and sustained damage, Graves is also a really tanky boy. The combination of steel caps, shield bow, and armor from his E makes it feel like you're really playing against a bruiser against any other AD champions. So you aren't nearly as reliant on getting peel from teammates. Next up for the mid lane, we'll start off with Victor. I'm pretty sure this guy has been in every single one of our videos. Usually a scaling hypercarry pick is not something that you'd probably think of for a list of hard carries when it comes to mid laners. In other roles it may make sense, but giving up mid priority can really derail a game, since it can influence the jungle so much. While Victor definitely has some insane scaling, he doesn't really have that early game weakness, so there's no risk to consider at all. Now that's not to say that he's the absolute strongest laner. In the first few levels, you'll definitely have to play a little bit slow, poking here and there, but with your main focus on farming. Once you reach your first augment and upgrade that laser, you're able to clear waves super fast and almost always have priority, or at least have the ability to match your opponent's roams. Aside from his laning, another important factor in Victor's solo carry potential is his self-sufficiency in teamfights. He may not have a blink or a dash, but he does have his W, as well as the movement speed from his augmented Q, and even slows once you augment W, allowing him to kite around and avoid threats. If you prefer a more proactive early game approach to your games, there aren't any better options than Aurelian's Soul. Yeah, you've heard that right. He is the king of early game pressure. His stars allow you to clear faster than any other champion in the lane, opening you up to roam anytime that you want. You'll probably want to wait until you have all 3 spells unlocked, but if you really need to move for that Cloud Fiesta River fight, you could easily be there as early as level 1. At face value, Aurelian Soul isn't a hard champion to play. Just have a wave you use your W to cleave down the minions, then finish them off and head down river for a roam. When you're ganking, you just fly in with your E and Q. But the issue is that you really have to get the timing right on these roams. His E is a really long cooldown, an entire 80 seconds. So if you fail one of your ganks and you get nothing out of it, well, you won't be able to do anything else for over a minute. Meanwhile, your mid lane opponent is either taking plays or getting a free reset. It's really important that you learn how to read the minimap and the state of other lanes for both teams and get it down to pat. If you ever need a little bit of extra help for that, a little visit to ProGuides.com may be in order. Aurelian is one of the more unique picks in League. His kit, playstyle, and even a little bit of wiggly tail really set him apart from any other mid laner. Being so unique means that while he is incredibly strong, very few players actually take the time to learn him, so he really has a low play rate. Also, he's kind of weird to play. I mean, he's not that fun for me. And that brings us to today's question of the day. What are some other champions that have very unique kits and playstyles? Let us know your answers down in the comments below. Moving things down to the bot lane, the very first ADC that we have for you is Vayne. Pretty much all hyper carries are doing really good right now, but the one edge that Vayne has compared to the other carries is her self-sufficiency. And given that this video is all about solo carries, that's a pretty big deciding factor. Her laning phase is pretty safe, with her tumble and condemn allowing you to easily avoid being jumped on in early 2v2s. And with the right lane partner, usually with a strong enchanter like Nami or Lulu, Vayne can really be on the winning side of the lane. In general, your goal in the pre-6 trades is just to proc silver bolts and then back out before taking too much return fire. Post 6, you can go for all-ins with their ultimate. It's just really easy to think that Vayne doesn't have much kill pressure, since she's supposed to be a scaling pick, but her ultimate really gives a lot of damage and outplay potential. The other ADC that we have for you is Jhin. Season to season, Jhin is probably the marksman that is most consistently found in the S or A tier. He's just always either pretty good or really good. This high placement comes from how oppressive he is in the laning phase. Once you have some AD and some extra points in your Q, your poke can be insane. And your W makes you the one ADC that can actually initiate a fight with a basic ability. This is pretty great when you have one of the supports that's a little bit too shy to look for an engage on their own. Once you build a lead on Jhin, you're easily able to translate it to fights outside of the laning phase. He's another champion who has a lot of self-sufficiency. Like Victor earlier, he may not have true mobility, but with good trap placement and the insane speed that you get from his passive, you can very easily kite dangerous opponents with Jhin. Now for our supports, our first pick that we have is Blitzcrank. The current support meta is very heavily dominated by enchanters and mages, so he is naturally a very strong enemy. Hitting a hook on one of these squishy champions is basically a guaranteed kill. If you end up in a lane where this isn't the case, you can turn to roaming. Roaming supports constantly put pressure on other laners and can be a real tilter, and that alone may be enough to win your team the game. Then there's the post lane phase side of Blitzcrank. You can go 10 minutes without doing anything super significant and then hit a hook that totally decides the game. For better or worse. This wildcard factor is what makes him such a high tier pick in pretty much every single season, even in the upper elos. Finishing off our list, we have Lulu. I know this list is about solo carrying, and the enchanters may not seem like the type to do that, but Lulu is so broken that she just belongs to this list. First, out of all the enchanters, she arguably has the most aggro potential. Pixie gives a lot of damage when you look to harass with autos, while her EQ combo provides a lot of poke. Usually killings are kind of scary for squishy enchanters, but you don't have to play like a coward against them as Lulu. If they go for an engage, just polymorph the enemy ADC and keep fighting back. You can even switch to the Guardian Rune page if needed against those super high damage lanes. Out of lane, you'll be an enemy diver's worst nightmare as you completely shut them down when they're trying to go in on your carries. If there are no major threats to worry about, just throw your buffs on a diver of your own and help them jump in on the enemy backline. And that wraps things up for our 10 best solo carries patch 11.24 edition. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did, be sure you sub so you never miss out on our meta guides and you're always in the loop on what the best picks are. Remember to let us know what champions you think have unique playstyles and kits down in the comments below. And one last thing, don't forget to check out our Discord in the description box below, where you can enter a giveaway or just hang out and be part of the community. I can't wait for you guys to be back in our next video, but until then, stay safe, stay healthy, and, have a wonderful day. Peace.